ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the UK League Championship. My name is Jake Hitbrain Matthews, and I am joined by Stuart Sim McLeod. How are you doing?
I'm doing good, thanks. Excited to be back here for the semi-finals and finals day for this day 2 of week 3.
Yeah, very exciting week actually, as we've got Fnatic sitting at the top of the tower. As you can see, their lovely jersey is now framed and sitting up there, and 4 teams contending to get up into that final and make their way to the tower challenge to try and take Fnatic down and sit at the top of the tower coming out of week 3.
Yeah, so we got the 4 contenders from yesterday. There's a day of upsets, a lot happened, but I'm looking forward to seeing these matchups today and who can try and take that game off of Fnatic.
Yeah, I mean, it was a very, very explosive game. So, Yeah, so if there were any games that you missed coming out of yesterday, you can actually head over to our YouTube channel, LVP UK, where we have all of the VODs from the previous weeks and yesterday's games. So you can catch up on all of that. Sin, if you only have time for one game, what game would you recommend for the guys at home to watch again?
I mean, I loved Excel versus M&M as a color caster, but as a spectator, I have to look at Barrage versus Bulldog. An explosive game, huge wombo combos, and massive Orianna ultimates left, right, and center from Cromel. So I definitely look back at that one.
Yeah, I mean, the wombo combos were big. The highlights of that actually were put up over.
So good, yeah.
They were put up over on our Twitter, LVP UK. You can also get in touch with us using that hashtag UKLC and let us know about all your favorite plays coming out of today's games and any future games coming up. We did actually have ourselves the Unsung Hero vote. We've had it every week now. And coming out of yesterday, it was Wyzek who took away the MVP. And I think this man's Kindred, he earned it.
Yeah, the early game prowess that he showed on this Kindred and his control of the map and how he set Enclave ahead in tempo was crucial to be able to give them the advantage, to be able to get them to the point in the game where you had Raisins making these plays on the Galio and able to control these team fights effectively.
Yeah, and I think he just had a great game. Like I don't want to expand upon that more. He played well. He is a good unsung hero earned by him. And at the end of the day, we will also put a vote up for 4 players who didn't earn MVP but maybe did deserve it. And you guys at home can let us know who your unsung hero is. Now, if you haven't watched any of the UKLC and you're a little bit confused on the way that the show is run and the way the format is run, we're actually going to let Orcs explain everything about how the tournament is running. So Orcs, over to you.
Yeah, cheers guys. So we'll be able to break down the format. Obviously, we did have some games yesterday and they'll be shown as well. The format's going to be the same for the first 7 weeks and then we go into playoffs. So we'll start off today with the 2 semi-final games. And as you can see, yesterday we had the round of 8 into the bracket draw. And we have Diabolus against Barrage first and Enclave against M&M. They will go through, well, the winners, to our final. And then after that match, which is our 3rd match of the day, the final team will go up against Fnatic Rise and the Tower Champion, and they'll try and take them down and earn that spot themselves. And obviously, you can load of points throughout and also get yourself further in the tournament, which is what every team wants. So thanks very much. Back over to you, Jake.
Yeah, and I think like if one of the teams can't actually take Fnatic out, whoever makes it to the finals, whether it's Diabolus, Barrage, Enclave, or M&M, they get a second shot at the beginning of next week as well. So potentially even more points up for grabs. And I think,
speaking of points,
I think it's time we bring up the little bracket, the ladder, see how everyone is facing off here. We'll bring that up in a second, though.
Yeah,
but
Fnatic's sitting at the top here. They've got that 3 points guaranteed from the fact that they are the Tower Champions at the minute. In their defense, even if they lose, they have 3 points. They were at 7 at the end of last week, but now stepping up over the top of Excel, who didn't get that win crucially, so they have an ability to extend a big lead if they win here today.
And this is a big opening for both Diabolus and M&M, currently sitting at 4 and 2 points respectively. But while that looks like they're actually quite far behind the pack, remember those are the points pretty much just coming out of week 2.
Yeah.
It's all about that tower challenge and all the additional points. You can earn 5 points
left
this
as well,
week.
Yeah.
There is potential for if M&M or Diabolus get themselves onto the tower championship and actually beat Fnatic, they actually propel themselves into a spot where they look at 3rd and 2nd in a more in a more cemented way.
And in this best of 1 format, single upsets like we saw happen to Excel yesterday are so dramatically important. You look at what comes out of that, and it gives M&M and Diabolus, as you said, these windows of opportunity to extend out and push into that final, get those extra points, and then lock themselves into 2nd place.
Well, we do have time to look at our first game of the day, which is going to be Diabolus taking on Barrage. Diabolus definitely had a very clean game yesterday, while Barrage, it was a little bit shaky. It was a little more scrappy, but they definitely had control. They definitely fought well. But before we dive into it a little bit more, we're going to pass over to Orcs, who's going to break down the rosters and what we're expecting coming into today's game.
Yeah, so first start with Diabolus. I think my player to watch has to be Yusa. Had some really strong performances throughout the tournament. We'll get to see the full roster here just in a second. But there is Kibros top, Monkeys in the jungle, Krogs in mid, Yusa AD carry, and Hado support. And as I said, Yusa, he has had such solid performances throughout. I think honourable mention to Kibros on that Vladimir, had great flanks. And that sort of ties into the next team, Barrage, because my big talking point for them would be Artorias. He brought out the Riven yesterday, which was quite a surprise to everyone. Here's the full roster: Artorias in top lane, Scudzy jungle, Cromel mid, Jackamaka AD carry, and Bartiona support. Big thing is, yeah, that Riven in the top lane, but also Cromel's Orianna was huge. And then you have to give an honourable mention to Bartiona on that Galio support, really set up the engages throughout. We do have a quick video we're just going to show up from before the split when some of the players were talking about who they wanted to face in the league and who they wanted to go up against.
So one team I really want to play against would be Fnatic, just because I kind of think it would be cool to get smashed by them.
Not surprised me in the sense that, wow, I didn't think they'd say that, but like when you asked Nutri about what team he'd think he'd really like to face, like in my head I was thinking probably Fnatic, because we have most to learn from that because they'd smash us the hardest, and he said the exact same thing, and I was like, yeah. I mean, that's why we have quite a good team dynamic, because maybe we're not all the best individual players like possible in the scene, but I think we're all quite mature, as Bart said as well, and we don't necessarily get upset about losing, and it's more like a learning experience, you know? So we're just trying to get as good as we can with what we've got. Yeah.
I think the strongest top laner this season is Shikari. I don't think it's close. I think he stands head and shoulders above. So the teams I most want to play against would have to be Diabolus and Fnatic. Diabolus because Kerberos is playing for them and I'd like to prove myself against him, and Fnatic because my brother plays support for them. It's Prosper. So I'm not sure about our chances of winning, but I'm still excited to go up against them. I suppose my message, a shout out to Prosper. I think he can easily take this split as the first place, and I just want him to do well at EU Masters.
The team I want to play against the most is Fnatic, because I'm really good friends with Shikari, Prosper and Matty was a former teammate, so playing against them is what I'm looking forward to the most. In terms of the other top laners of the league, the one I think is the strongest is probably Shikari, and I'm really looking forward to playing against him.
So a team I want to beat for sure is Fnatic. They seem like they have the most talented players in the UK scene, but I think for sure with hard work we can beat them.
Everybody wants a piece of Fnatic.
Yeah.
You can, for different reasons, for varying reasons. It's quite cool hearing from Barrage, hearing them say, we want to play Fnatic because we know they would beat us the hardest, but we would learn the most from it. So you can see the mentality of that team is very much a learning mentality, where Diabolus, you know, for those players, it's a mixture of, like, they just want to play against their friends, and also they want to make a statement as a team.
It seems like with Diabolus, eyes on the top of that tower, eyes on the prize, looking forward to facing Fnatic, but at the same time, Barrage, they want to treat it as a learning experience. They've had these two learning experiences of the losses and came in yesterday a lot stronger. So the development of the roster has been one that's been rather interesting to watch. And I hope they can continue to develop and put a decent threat out to Diabolus here.
Yeah, I want to have a little talk about actually yesterday's games as well. If you look at someone like Diabolus, they had a very clean win over Phelan. Barrage, their game was scrappier, but it still felt controlled. And I'm curious to see, as we move into this picks and bans, what's going to be banned, what's going to be picked, and how the playstyles are really going to come out here. As we've already had the Karthus, the Galio, and the Urgot banned away.
Yeah, the Galio 100% pick ban yesterday, and of course Urgot one of 100% pick bans across the entire tournament thus far. But one pick that is kind of undersung that I'd like to really talk about here is both of these mid laners have really put high priority on Orianna. Krogson playing almost exclusively Orianna, and Cromel looking really strong on it yesterday.
Yeah, well, that's going to be, once again, Zoe banned away. No surprises. It's been just
no surprises
100% pick ban so far in the UKLC, and the Cassiopeia will be the final ban here as Diabolus just looking at what they're going to be picking up here. I'm curious to see if Curb goes for a carry once again, or if he goes for a tank, and that's the Jarvan, so a bit of flex between Monkeys and him.
So there's definitely the ability to have that as a flexible between the top lane and the jungle. We've seen it in both roles around the world, but from the carry yesterday of the Vladimir, as you were alluding to, over to the other side where we saw the Riven, both of these top laners pulling out a carry as a classic top lane matchup in the UK. I think it's definitely what we want to see. We want to see them calling each other out. We want to see something, maybe not quite as aggressive as the Riven, but something more interactive than something like the Scion.
Well, going to be the fresh pick so far for Bartiona. I'm curious to see whether or not we actually do see the Riven even show up in picks and bans. If Diabolus feel like they want to send curb top on that Jarvan, they just ban it away in phase 2 if Barrage don't pick it up, as they are going to lock themselves in the Skarner for the moment.
The Sejuani.
Yep.
That's a big scorpion lady.
It's a single target CC. So
you see
what I
her
saw
and you
is
think
I saw
Scorpion Lady,
fresh
yeah.
above him and it was green, and then I'm kind of looking back and forth.
You see, you're thinking Thresh is like the pincer coming out from over.
Week 1, I somehow missed a fresh getting locked in.
But we see the Kai'Sa coming in for Yusa. This is a scaling late game pick, and I'm loving what the Kai'Sa can provide in terms of the late game scaling, which we know Yusa has been so adept at with picks like the Ezreal so consistently, but not opting in for the Ezreal, which is available. Instead, looking more towards the pick that's a little bit harder to pilot in lane, but hits that much harder as a solo carry in fights rather than relying on being a poke champ.
Well, definitely got some solid engage here for Diabolus so far. If you do look at what they've rounded out, they've got the Death Bowl, they've got the Cow, they've even got Kai'Sa able to jump into those fights, and looking for Barrage. They're going to lock in their ADC, Tristana pick coming forward for them as we move into picks and bans too. This is where I'm curious to see if that Riven does show its face.
Yeah, there's definitely the opportunity because they are red side to have counterpick top lane, and they might want to hold on to that because Chromel has been so happy to play these control mages, because Krogson versus Chromel is likely to be one of these just control mage scaling matchups. It's going to really not afford them too much pressure to hold counterpick there. If you get a decent counterpick for Artorias, maybe pressure out Kubros, who we said has been probably the weakest member of Diabolus thus far. Had a good game yesterday, but prior to that, had some issues. Maybe that's where Barrage can find that advantage to then get Jakamaka and Bartiono into the game.
Okay, well, just the Scion ban so far. We're looking over to Diabolus now. But they're going to take away the Riven. There it is.
Yeah.
I was expecting to see it bad. I didn't really know if Artorias was going to pull it out today, but you're going to ban that away.
I really like the Scion ban as well, trying to make it a more carry-oriented top lane, trying to force them into playing something a lot more aggressive rather than just relying on that later game scaling again.
Well, that's the Vladimir getting taken off the board.
Yeah,
so
again, scaling. This is what they're speaking to what Diabolus has done very much so far. Just rely on the fact that Yusa will be the stronger AD carry in the late game, sort of a Yusa will carry, if you will, and then just taking away these big scaling picks, taking away the Scion, taking away the Kerberos, free scaling in the top lane, forcing him to be exploitable.
Now, that's a Kayn ban as the final ban here towards Scudsy there. I'm curious to see whether or not we see Artorias' Shen come out here. Seeing how that he did actually have a fairly okay performance on it in week 1. Didn't win that game, unfortunately, but it is a pick in his wheelhouse, so we're curious to see. But like you said, I expect to maybe see it go as their counter pick, but they also can counter pick for Camille in mid.
If they get a safe pick for mid here, then they leave the counter pick for top. And like we said, Chromel, who had such a good performance on this Orianna yesterday, isn't really buying into having the counter pick for himself. He's fine going control mage versus control mage and just relying on the scaling. So then you're looking down towards what is Artorias picking. Because if they're just pulling out something like the Shen, what's the point of holding counter pick? You didn't really afford yourself any extra pressure. You could have just picked that earlier and then not had something like the Kayn band away, but instead you open yourself up to having that carry top lane, and that's what I'm excited to see. But on the other side, again, we're seeing another Ivern setup similar to what we had for Eminem, another late game scaling carry, something a little bit more safe this time, the Kai'Sa, something more mobile, something that can't be exploited quite as easily, but something that has to go far more aggressive for the payoff.
Okay, well, Diabolus looking to lock in their mid laners. It's going to quite confidently lock in the LeBlanc. This is quite a nice matchup into the Orianna as well. Obviously, Ori does have the extra wave clear as you move later into the game, but if LeBlanc can get on top of her before of that and really start to punish out Barrage in the mid lane, this could lead for an opening here where Diabolus might be able to open up an avenue that buys use of that time he needs on the Kai'Sa.
So they know they're up against the Jarvan in the top lane, so he's got free counter pick there. And we'll have to see if it is going to be, and that is likely going to be Artorias top lane on the Sejuani. That's why they banned the Kayn away in the first place, because they suspected that it might be going top lane. But I still think that that's just a matchup that you want to scale in, you want to get into the late game. It's not too bad in terms of laning if you actually get the attack speed and you can proc the permafrost really easily. It's actually really easy to get an effective trade. If you're running Aftershock, it's really easy to trade. So the matchup I'm looking at, though, is the mid lane, the LeBlanc. This is something that we haven't seen from Krogson that much yet. So Krogson pulling out a more carry-oriented pick, trying to pressure out the control mage player of Chromel, and now proving himself to be more than just a control mage player himself. If he can become this assassin, support Yusuf, give him the space to get on top of Jakamaka and remove him from a late game fight, suddenly this game opens up for Diabolus.
Okay, well, that's what we're looking for coming into this game, as we got the picks, we got the bans, everything's locked in here. Pretty excited to see how this goes. Is Barrage actually going to run that Sejuani top? We talked to a lot of people have been talking about that the whole time. Coming as the UKC LC started out, we all talked. But this Sejuani top is something we might see, and we are going to finally get to see it. It's going into Kerberos, who's on the Jarvan. Kerberos, who's back on the carry, and Artorias versus Kerberos is actually a matchup I'm very excited to see again, because when I first started casting, this is one of the top lane matchups that I used to watch quite regularly, and now we get that kind of flashback into the past, and we get to see, you know, the new version of Kerberos, not the Kayle main, not the Warwick player. We get the more team-orientated Kerberos, who yesterday showed he can play a carry, but he can still also play for the team.
But this is what I like about the Jarvan pickup for him. It's a pick that can play effectively as a tank for the late game, and you just dive into the backline, you get a big shield on yourself, and you're facilitating everybody else. But you can, if you get a lead, if you start to snowball ahead, become a hard carry champion. You can start to get a couple of damage items, and suddenly your combo is chunking a Tristana for 3/4 of her health. If she's even a little poked out coming into a fight, you can remove her instantly, and setting up your team in that way as a more carry-oriented champion is still an option for him. So I like the adaptability of, if you perform well in game, you get to be a carry Kerberos. If you're not, you're a tank. And that's inherently what you want to see from a top laner. If you think you can win the lane, you can play a carry. If you want to play, if you think you're going to end up losing out, you play a tank. And the adaptability of Jarvan is why we're seeing him so often. Yeah, and I feel like versus something like the Sejuani, which typically builds all tank, I mean, we're not going to see the UK special, which we saw at EU Masters, which was the Medjay Soul Stealer Sejuani, which was a little bit, wasn't quite as didn't perform. I mean, yeah, it's a pick that we have actually seen in the LMS quite consistently over the years. I know G-Rex's top laner particularly loves this Sejuani top, and he's the same guy that played Volibear top, to be fair. So the guy's absolutely crazy, but it's a pick that isn't unheard of in competitive play. So I'm excited to see if we can see more Sejuani come through, and with a melee jungler like Kha'Zix, proccing the permafrost is that much more effective, where he gets to jump in, land a couple auto attacks, and then suddenly you've got a stun for lane. It's effectively like relying on Sejuani. Normally you want to have a melee laner, but Sejuani top, melee jungler. All right, well, we're on to the Summoners Rift for our first game of day 3. Day 2, week 3. And so now we're just going to see a line of scrimmage start out. And so this line of scrimmage now is just going to deny the vision. You normally want to get as many wards around the sort of tri-brush area, sorry, the pixel brush area rather, just to get knowledge of that the first scuttle of the game. If you get even a little bit of knowledge on the jungle pathing, it opens up the map so much more, especially when you're playing somebody like an Ivern. You need that kind of survivability. You need that kind of ability to deny Scudzy access to the lanes early. Yeah, we're going to have to be tracking Scudzy in this game, because it does have the ability just to run at Monkeys and try and blow him up as the Kha'Zix, but it's also going to be very dependent on how Diabolus' lanes are going, because if they've got pressure in the lanes, it becomes a lot harder for Scudzy to go for those invades without seeing, you know, Kerberos on the Jarvan show up or the LeBlanc show up and just two-hitting you. So if we can see Camille get a bit of control in this mid lane, if we can see Artorias try and keep Kerberos under control, it will enable Scudzy to at least invade into this top side. In theory, of course, Diabolus have the pushing lane mid after a couple levels, because Orianna starts to get control of the wave, but once you hit level 3 and you have that trading potential for Krogson, you're able to go in more effectively, push Orianna off of the wave. And then you're looking at Kerberos, who should have the wave push in the top lane as well. Sejuani doesn't really have that much damage on her W, so not that much AoE. It's more about her 1v1 potential is the reason that you'd pick her top lane. So it gives options for Scudzy to get control. It gives options for Scudzy to have knowledge around the map of where he needs to go to. As you see, Monkeys just gets spotted out on that ward as he leaves. Yeah, Monkeys does get spotted out, which is giving the information over to Scudzy, who currently is doing his Krugs over in the top lane, but putting some pings down on that red buff already, looking like maybe he wants to try and go for an invade. But for now, he's just going to take his Raptors, get some chickens. Yeah, it's, they wanted to get knowledge, though. They wanted to get any knowledge if they are trying to trade sides of the maps. So that ward there from Krogson I really like, because he was able to get even a little bit of control of the wave for a moment, had to push aggressively, but that it gives the Ivern the safety to know he can walk into his bot side jungle and have control. You're not so afraid of the Kha'Zix invading and pressuring you out. Yeah, it just looks like Scudzy's actually just going to leave Monkeys alone in that lane. This is the thing here. If you're going low on the camps, it's pings towards this red buff. If you're going low from the camps, that gives Kha'Zix a free in. It gives Kha'Zix the free ability to get on top of you. And even though this is a rough matchup for Kha'Zix post-6, because Ivern can just throw down Daisy and then suddenly he's not isolated anymore. Yeah. Scudzy actually avoided that ward as well, so he still remains unspotted. But there is a ward right there, so he doesn't really have access into bot lane. It's just so much trading these scuttles. It's slow-paced early game. And
it's also nice for Barrage as their jungler is still in the dark. No one knows where they were. They saw Monkeys early, so they can assume where he is, and they can make the same assumption about Scudzy, especially if they go and check that crab. But Scudzy still does remain with a little bit of that unseen threat.
I love what the Ivern provides to this composition, because you look at these compositions across the board, you go you see the Sejuani, Orianna, Tristana, Thresh. It's like, that's a decently scaling comp. It still has a lot of pressure in the mid game, but the late game, the Tristana is going to pick up, yeah. Maybe she can do more damage than the Kai'Sa. Maybe a Kai'Sa doesn't really have access to the backline that effectively. But then you suddenly add an Ivern into the equation against Scudzy's Kha'Zix. And just the shields, just that bonus stats, those bonus health stats, the healing, the shields that you can get on top of Yusa, wins you the scaling war instantly.
Well, Monkeys is actually taking a look towards Artorias here in the top lane. Curb has that flag and drag, gets the slow off of the W, as Artorias fully sees the Arctic Assault, gets rooted up, and they're now chasing in. And Artorias flashes away underneath his tower. That's a flash down. Proactive play by Monkeys. Gives Kerberos a slight advantage here in the top lane, as that CS is already at 10.
And Artorias having to blow his flash because of the Root Caller. The Root Caller effectively gives the in for Kerberos without having to use his combo, because it puts you in your auto attack range when you right click on somebody. It's really effective for what it can do for just setting up a gank very effectively. And I like what Kerberos has done so far. He's managed to get control of the lane like we alluded to, and he is winning out this matchup so far in terms of CS quite efficiently. But it's if he can continue doing this, around that level 6 mark, against a mobile mid laner like the Orianna, you start to roam down the river, you EQ mid, suddenly she has to blow flash. If LeBlanc lands a chain even first, then you instantly kill Cromel because you have the roam pressure top lane. So if Kerberos holds this pressure consistently, even builds towards a Tiamat early to get the wave push, then Cromel has to be on watch.
Yeah, do keep in mind there for the moment, Croxton's a little low on mana, so he does have enough for at least one combo onto Cromel here, which could spell danger as looking to step forward. Monkeys is coming in. The chains are going to connect. The flash and the cleanse are available. Cromel holds onto both of his summoner spells here. Now looking just to thread a couple of those auto attacks in with that clockwork windup. Has the shockwave. Monkeys needs to be careful. Forces the flash out, and Scudzy just walks at him.
Let's give Scudzy access to the bot side jungle. There isn't really much there for him, but having the vision control, having the knowledge, he's going to get that those crabs on spawn at least. Rather, Raptors.
The Raptors.
That's the name of them.
You can,
yes.
You know, they're a bargain bucket of chicken wings as well.
I keep on having to correct myself because mentally I want to say wraiths, and then I'm like,
I'll give you that one, but for the moment, looks like Peter Crouch is making an appearance up in the top lane, and Notorious this time, no flash available. He's getting rooted up, has the ulti, and first blood gets picked up by Kerberos.
Monkeys is actually showing what Nulty couldn't yesterday, an early proactive Ivern that's setting his lanes ahead, and if you can do this, then setting up Yusa becomes that much more effective. He's not even gone bot lane yet. He knows Yusa's just happy to scale in the matchup, but by setting up the other lanes to get advantages, giving himself a bit of gold as well, he's setting himself up to get to the support items, which turn Yusa into a hyper carry without him really needing a massive lead.
Yeah, well, we can see for the moment, Scudzy's just been farming, not really been too proactive. Let's have a little look at that first blood here in the top lane once again. Kerb was able to pick that up.
A level 6 for Artorias, but can't really do anything with it, unfortunately. Just gets rooted and walks down the lane. gives him the old 1-2 punch.
I'm a big fan of Kerberos's cringe punch, I'm not going to lie.
I can't say I am. It's how long afterwards when he just stands there like...
It's better than a dab. We've had this conversation. I don't mind if as long as no one dabs.
Who is it that's got a dab emote? Somebody does.
There's
one in the pipeline. There's one in the pipeline at least.
There's one dab apparently. I hope we never see it. Not because I don't want that player to do well, but more because I just don't want to see the dab.
I mean, then everybody who's subscribed to anybody gets to put the dab emote in chat, though. It's great.
True.
You gotta give them the money's worth, and we're seeing the level. Okay, this is the ultimate upgrade first from Scudzy. Interesting, because you normally see the Q upgrade first on most people nowadays, and the fact that he has turned red is the indicator. So the Q upgrade gives you that bonus cooldown on the Q, gives you the ability to clear faster and do higher DPS on single target. The ult upgrade gives you higher sticking power. It gives you the ability to stay on top of somebody for longer without being bursted. So perhaps looking to try and punish Yusa, get on top of him, and not be pressured out instantly by somebody like Krogs.
Now, Scotty is going to be able to take away this Ocean Drake, but still hasn't been able to find his opening into a single lane here. If we do take a look at the state of the lanes at the moment, mid lane's relatively even, jungle's holding out for the moment. Well, Kerberos does have himself a CS lead and that kill, so he's ahead over Artorias, who is the Cloth Armor and Ruby Crystal into the Tiamat, finished up here onto Kerberos. And if you also do look towards this bot lane, Jakamaka actually does have a CS lead over Yusa. Bartiono's definitely been able to apply a fair amount of threat and pressure in this lane.
And it's definitely been good laning from Jakamaka and Bartiono, but the short range of the Kai'Sa generally means that you're set up to lose this matchup from the start. Tristana has the wave push into you. You struggle to CS effectively, but he's been holding on. He's not really given up anything in terms of overall overarching pressure other than vision and that first Ocean Dragon. So they're happy to let Yusa scale, happy to let Yusa become a late game threat, knowing that the rest of the map's winning out already.
I also like Camille's picked up that Neural Magic Mental nice and early. Here, he's got the Lost Chapter. He's now got the blue buff, so
yeah, I mean,
he's going to be able to be relatively safe and shove in this lane.
Against LeBlanc, you pretty much have to buy first item Mercury Threads. Before you finish your first item, you pretty much have to get it, because once she starts to stack up those levels, she has Ignite. The kill pressure is there. You need to make sure that she can't just instantly burst you.
But Krogson doesn't actually need that. He can go straight into his Luden's Echo and look to try and one-shot Camille as quick as possible.
We could just go for the bonus magic penetration as well and try and get through it, but it's so important to be able to get that little bit of magic resistance. You see it in other lanes as well, like normally Syndra, because that level 6 is such a kill potential point for her. You need to get Mercury Threads before she hits level 6 most of the time. And it's just making sure that you can have control of the lane, you can push aggressively without instantly being punished for it. It gives Krumel so much more control, and you can see it in the CS. Magical footwear coming through from him now as well on both mid laners.
Yeah, I like that. It means Camille obviously doesn't have to waste any gold on the boots, but he will be able to get himself his Mercury Treads, like you said, nice and quick, and he's also got himself that Blasting Wand where Krogson hasn't been able to base yet. Monkeys needs to be a little careful because Artorias could spot him out here. Has got the help of Scudzy. Blast goes over. Haddo's coming in and Bartiono also. It's a 3 versus 3. Yusa's making his way up. The teleport starting to come forward. This is going to be Kerberos joining into the fray. Artorias holding run fast with his ultimate for the moment. Daisy is chasing them up. Krogson also there. 5 members of Diabolus do just force away
on the bot side.
Barrage, but there's going to be an ult onto one. The Ignite, the Cleanse comes forward. Camille has the Shockwave. He only lands onto Krogson. His health bar's low. He can't get the shield to him in time. And now fight is breaking out elsewhere. A massive 4-man head by Pulverize. The damage is coming forward. Barrage is so low, but Diabolus cannot chase for more.
And Krumel on the late rotation back towards that fight ends up getting caught out. But it doesn't matter when Monkeys just dies immediately on the other side. The members go low, but they can't quite clean up because all the cooldowns of Kerberos and Krogson had been used. They can't get on top of those last remaining members. And although it's Kerberos at 2-0, it's Barrage coming out of that fight even.
They're not even in gold. Diabolus do have himself a gold lead for the moment. They've been able to get 2 plates globally, which is the same as a kill, where Monkeys has actually been able to finish up his redemption, which is, we were talking about this yesterday, it's one of the major power spikes on a champion like the Ivern.
You can remember, if you remember quite a long time ago, they actually nerfed the redemption quite a lot in terms of the fact that the amount of healing it gives when you get it straight away, and it gets triple the scaling with healing and shield power. But it's still such an effective first item on so many champions because you get that bonus heal and that little bit of damage, that little area of effectiveness that affects a fight even if you're not doing damage as a champion, you're giving everybody else bonus stats.
I mean, how else is the Ivern going to do damage if it's not with redemption?
It's probably his most damaging ability, yeah.
I mean,
unless you're building like on-hit Nash's Ivern, which I've tried.
It was the M&M game yesterday where we looked at the damage dealt, and the Ivern on M&M did half the damage of Tax's
Nocturne. And even so, Tax's Nocturne, he was doing a lot of damage, but
I mean, he really wasn't.
He was doing a lot of damage in the early game, but as the game went on, he really did less and less, and still Ivern only did half. That gives you a real idea of what Ivern is as a champion. Again, a facilitator. We've talked about that word quite a lot, but I want to really highlight what it is, because you're not the guy who's doing all the damage. Instead, your role is entirely to buy space for other people, empower them, and give them the necessary resources to be able to carry without setting yourself in a massive lead. You can even go behind on those sort of facilitating champions because you don't need that gold. You need to make sure it's going on to the correct members. So if you're sacking the top lane matchup, for example, to give bot lane an extra 20 CS, so be it. That's your role.
Well, Hada is looking to try and stop Scudzy from getting his hands onto this Rift Herald, but Barrage do have pressure in the bot lane, and they have to push in the mid lane. Camille chunks out Croxton already, looking to jump on him, has that shield on top, and that's going to be the ultimate. Misses the chains as well. Croxton in for a bit of danger here. Shockwave is available, and that's going to land onto 2. In comes the Void Seeker, and the fight is on. Scudzy jumps onto Monkeys, but he's in for a lot of damage. The Redemption comes down. In comes Kerb, though, trying to get himself one. It's a 2-kill lead for Barrage. And now Kerberos is getting ripped through. The rest of the team are chasing him down. The health bar is slowly evaporating, and a shutdown gets picked up by Jakamaka. This Tristana just got so much from one fight.
She's jumping all around the fight and using that W to great effectiveness on the resets. So Jakamaka likely to get mid lane tower here as well. Maybe even 2 with that Rift Herald pot.
Let's see if they can... Yeah, okay. Don't actually do any damage to the Herald, so they've got a wave to work with. And Herald will get this charge off here.
Still 2 members dead, so they're going to get at least the charge off, but it gives them the time to be able to rotate back towards the Dragon and pick this up uncontested because the members have to deal with the Rift Herald mid lane. They're pushing their tempo advantage further. This is what we gave Diabolus so much credit for yesterday, and now it's Barrage giving him a taste of their own medicine.
The question is how are Diabolus going to play from behind now? How does their playstyle suit this? Is like you said, play very well from ahead, but from behind, you know, we've not seen them too much fall into deficits, especially at 15 minutes. And if you look at Jakamaka now, he's got that static shiv. He's 2-0-2 on the Tristana, the BS sword in his inventory as well, versus Yusa, who's gone double pickaxe and that BF sword. As the Ludens has been finished up on Camille, he's working his way towards the Oblivion Orb. And once that penetration starts to really scale up on Camille, he's going to be able to shred through people with those big, impactful shockwaves.
Yeah, I swear Camille can't even land a one-man shockwave. We've only seen him really land 2 or more man shockwaves so far, and he seems to just have laser accuracy with it. So I'm excited to see him, as the game goes on, scale into it. But the person I want to look at right now is Yusa, who's been set behind. He's still scaling into the game, but he's going for the new Kai'Sa build. This is the build where you build the BF sword in 2 pickaxes because it gives you your Q upgrade as soon as possible. You max out that AD stat, even though you're not completing an item. Then you finish the Infinity Edge, then you build into the Gwinsus, plus your Berserker Greaves, and then you start getting towards the attack speed upgrade second. But maxing it for that Q upgrade.
Taurus, you got 1v1 here with Croxton. He's going to have to heal up for the moment. Daisy's been summoned and Monkeys now looking to go in. Uses that Bush Cooler and Croxton jumps in forward. Going to try and get some damage out. The Void Seeker's connected in, and that's just going to be a kill for Croxton.
And Yusa gets a cheeky assist on it as well, so giving the gold to the right target. But once again, Jakamaka getting another tower for himself in the top lane in response. And they're going to put solo gold on him. Luckily, no, they're sharing it with Scudzy. So they're giving him this empowerment towards the mid game, like we said about. This is where their advantage is. This is where they are stronger than the side of Diabolus. So if they can make these rotations happen, set up plays with the Sejuani and the Orianna to make picks happen, and the Tristana starts to get snowballed, then it doesn't really matter when the scaling is of Yusa in the late game, if the Tristana's already an item and a half ahead and it's already hitting like a late game monster.
Well, looks like Barrage actually starting to try and collapse down bot lane. That turret didn't fall. Should go down to the minions, but you need to be a little bit careful if you're on the side of Diabolus, as Barrage is sniffing around looking for them inside their own jungle.
And Barrage, we said yesterday that they played really well. They looked like a brand new team. They were so revitalized by those aggressive picks, but they were up against a weakened Bulldog squad, so it was hard to really get a quantifier of how good they really are when you're seeing those subs come in from the opposing side. They're coming in here and showing that they can compete with Diabolus. They're coming in and showing that they are a team that is going to push towards that 4th spot, which we said 3rd, 4th is still heavily contested throughout the league.
I think the whole middle ground is completely
anything
open
beyond
for
1st and 2nd has generally been fairly set, but now Excel's been knocked out.
Yeah,
it's all called into question.
I actually do feel that Eminem's victory over Excel has definitely fully shaken that up. Fnatic still do look like the clear strongest in the UK League.
I'd hold off on that for now because it was Eminem drafting a full scaling, putting Excel on a timer and saying, XL, if you don't end the game in the next 20 minutes, we are just going to win over the top
But they
of you.
recognize that XL didn't play for early in the previous week, so it was a good read coming in from M&M. And if other teams can start to get a good read on you know, teams who everyone air quotes here places stronger, you see Barrage already, you know, they're starting to get a bit of a read on Diabolus' play style. While that gold lead is slowly starting to go back towards Diabolus here for the moment, Barrage, if they can continue to use this pressure into this mid game like you've been talking about, could actually set up for a fight. But Jakamaka's jumping onto Croxon. Do have Scudzy hanging in the winds. The hook does connect, and Notorious
really
is coming
nice
forward.
hook.
This might be the engage. Ultimate connects onto one. Haddo is going to be the one to tank that up, and Barrage is just going to walk away. No Cremil, so they had no shockwave, so couldn't really team fight for the moment.
It didn't really amount to much, but I love the hook from Bart there, landing the hook on the LeBlanc as she distorted away by predicting it.
I mean, look at the bot lane.
Yeah, bot lane, unfortunate for Yusa this game. Normally, he's the guy who's been given so many resources, and we said this. If Yusa can be self-sustainable, that Yusa could maybe empower the rest of the map to get ahead, and if Kerberos and Croxon could have that space, then once the Ivern gets a couple items, is throwing shields on Yusa, he can make up for that gold deficit. But it's been a real departure from what we've seen from Diabolus in the past. They normally put so many resources onto Yusa, only play towards bot side. And if their strategic adaptation isn't working, maybe you have to just think that they are fairly one-dimensional. They can only win through Yusa.
Well, might have to be a little bit careful as a hook comes out,
Oh,
does
nice hook
land onto the
again.
priority target, and Jakamaka just launches into the fray. Monk is making his way forward, and Haddo gets chunked out already. Barrage now looking to try and get himself a second Mountain Drake. They're just clearing out the vision, get as much control as possible around this point of the map.
This is the third dragon now, so they're starting to stack up and double Mountain. The Kai'Sa we normally talk about has great ability to shred Baron, but when you have a Tristana with double Mountain, and of course the Kha'Zix as well, who gets the isolated damage on it, it gets shredded to pieces. So you have to be so careful if you're Diabolus now to give them even 30 seconds of free time on a reset, because they can just take Baron.
Definitely sitting very comfortable to do that. As curious to see when Jakamaka gets his Infinity Edge. I don't believe he's picked it up, but I could be wrong, because he's sitting on 1,200, so should be at least close at this point.
The thing I'm surprised by now is the CS is so even in spite of the all of the kills going over to Jakamaka. So Yusa's still holding up. I need to see if they win a fight. I need to see them find that position in the fight where they can take over, and it is the Infinity Edge completed on both sides, as you say. But Yusa's still behind an item. Yusa still needs to find this big engage. And what is the win what does a winning team fight really look like for Diabolus here? And you got to say it's just the side of Barrage over-aggressing, going in too hard, and not finding a target instantly. Then Yusa and Monkeys get to capitalize on the backside, because them moving forward has been fairly weak so far when they get instantly shut down by a shockwave.
Looking for a pick onto the fresh here. Might just be Bartiano getting caught out for the moment. He's going to get ripped through, and Yusa takes him down. Jakamaka looking to chase as Scudzy not going to be able to find an opening in there. Bad misposition by Bartiano does cost the gold lead for Diabolus. Is now it's going down to only 600 separating both of these teams.
Again, it's where the gold lead is, though, that's the key of importance here. You can see the mid lane, slight lead for Cremel. You can see in the bot lane, Jakamaka is the guy with the advantage, but Croxon trying to make that up for that immediately.
I think Ignite onto Cremel does have the cleanse, so you can just pure that away from him, but Croxon still has R, so actually could have chased with the double distortion if he needed to, and not going to overcommit, not going to risk it, as knowing that Cremel had flash and that shockwave available.
Instead, just trading Ignite for cleanse and then having control of the top lane to be able to get this tower by slowing the recall down means that they are going to just try and chunk this one out, see if they can get another tower for themselves, even up that tower score.
You can see Kerberos has finished up his Titanic Hydra, working towards his next item as the Sunfire Cape on Notorious is done. And Scudzy may be looking for an assassination attempt here onto Croxon. Going to go invisible, looking to try and get some damage out. He's just ripping through Croxon. Croxon's going to go invisible. Scudzy's picking the wrong target. This time he jumps in. The damage not quite there. Uses the last charge of his ultimate. And Jakamaka trying to chase in the flash out by Scudzy. And down goes Croxon.
Really nice play from Scudzy there, understanding his damage almost perfectly.
This might be that opening you were talking about. With 30 seconds they need.
With Croxon down, they are rushing straight towards Baron. They want to force a fight with their numbers advantage, and they know Yusa's in base.
It is melting to them. Only 22 minutes into the game, and Barrage trying to get their hands onto this Baron. But you can see Haddo and
they know where
Daisy
Monk is. They
trying
have
to
to
come in.
deny him.
Haddo goes in with a 3-man headbutt pulverize. Yusuf throws out one curb, gets himself a 2-man pin down the shockwave, lands onto one.
Oh,
Kramil's
there
going to stay
goes
alive.
Yusuf.
The health bars are so low though. Kramil, Kerberos, everyone is chasing for damage. The root lands onto one, and now Haddo is in for a world of hurt as Jakamaka looking to get the damage onto Monkeys. Artorias chasing him down, can't actually quite get the kill, and Barrage are going to have to step away for the moment. But they do get themselves a great team fight.
And that's exactly what we're worried about for Yusa. He dives into the backline, but instantly gets hit by a shockwave from Kramil. He can't get the kills, he can't find the damage, and instantly deleted. So Jakamaka is just happy to clean it up. Even if he's not the guy jumping ahead, making the flashy plays, he's the guy that's just consistently DPSing. That's all he needs to be with this amount of a gold lead. And it's only 1k at the minute, but still, that's the largest gold lead for anybody in the game.
It was a good peel attempt by Barrage, though, to make sure that Jakamaka and Kramil stayed alive. You saw Curb and Yusa tried to assassinate them, and they were able to peel back. Bartiona got the slows down, got the hooks down, and
Scudzy again.
Scudzy looking for Monkeys here. He's upgraded his W, but he might be in for a bit of hurt as Krogson and Haddo are coming in. That's going to be the headbutt pulverizer. Flayback, the shields on. Kramil does not have shockwave for just the moment, but Haddo already getting a lot of damage put onto him. It's going to land onto Haddo for the moment. They might chase for more. Krogson's coming in. Kramil just takes him out. An absolute deletion of Haddo.
I was about to say an over-aggression from Scudzy, but they get the TP from Kerberos, and they take Haddo down on the backside, so really well played by Kramil, once again showing his mastery of this Orianna. And the one time he does land a one-man shockwave, it's on the important target. We saw on Yusa in the last fight, we saw on Haddo to set up that pick there, and Kramil, I have to say, he's piloting this Orianna so well consistently now.
Yeah, it might be a pick for in future weeks and in future play of Barrage. We might see this get banned away.
I mean, it went to the second phase, and they were happy to let it through.
Very comfortable as Barrage actually looking to go on to the Baron here. Jakamaka has used his rocket jump already, so is on cooldown for another 15 seconds as Krogson.
Monk is still a fair distance away.
Krogson is a bit of a way away.
Oh,
That's going to
nice.
be the play back. He's trying to come in. Baron's going to get picked up, and Krogson going to get caught out for the moment. That's going to be Jakamaka picking up yet another kill, and Baron is going to go over to Barrage.
And just as Krogson was trying to jump into the pit, chunk out Jakamaka, see if he could get an assassination, he gets hit directly out of the pit by the Tristana ult. He gets shoved away, and they secure that Baron for themselves. We said they needed that window of just 30 seconds. The base of Monkeys was exactly that. And once again, Diabolus being outplayed across the map, but they're trying to get a Dragon and trade.
Jakamaka now has got himself the PD, while Yus is on Infinity Edge and Rage Blade. A whole item up. 3-item Tristana is looking like some scary concept. Yusa is going to get called out, and he just gets blown up. Scudzy going to be getting the kill, and Jakamaka now using those reset hops. And
you know what he really could have used there? A PD.
Yeah.
The 3 items to the Tristana to the 2 items of Yusa makes him that much more squishy. He gets removed from the fight instantly as he's the last one out of the pit. And Yusa, when the resources aren't put on him, he's showing to himself to be a bit of a liability.
Gonna go invisible, trying to hop in and out of the fight curve.
But
he's gonna get the hook in, and this is the turnaround. The shockwave's not even necessary. Bartiono finds himself a kill on the fresh.
The boy Scudzy, he was saying that he was worried about Fnatic clapping him. Right now, he's looking at Fnatic and smiling. He's licking his lips because he wants to go through Diabolus all the way up to the top of the tower.
Sin, I am loving this. One of the teams who everyone was pegging as one of the bottom teams is actually performing very well versus Diabolus, and it's not like it's just a cheese win. They are beating them on rotations.
Outright,
they're catching them out. They're playing a very solid game, and 2 games in a row now we've seen Barrage say, we might not be the best at certain things in the game, but hell, we can team fight. Hell, we can step up. And Krogson trying to get an assassination onto Bartiono, but just going to take half his HP.
And the LeBlanc, while she's ahead, she didn't make use of the spike where she is strongest in the game when you have the magic penetration first stacking. Instead now, she's starting to get outscaled. She still have the hyper late game damage once she gets towards the death cap, but right now, the Orianna is far stronger on the same items.
You can see they almost got that turret there in the bot lane. Are going to step away for the moment and use some bases, get some gold in their pocket, but bot lane tier 2 is looking a little bit weaker, a little bit worse for the wear. I mean, tier 3, tier 2's already gone. That's as weak as it can be.
And Baron's still got about a third left, so they're going to reset and get this last push off of it and try and break these last 2 outer towers in mid and in top. So if Barrage now can utilize this gold lead that they've got themselves off of the back of the Baron, this 5.5k gold lead to set themselves up in a fight where they can get an advantage, as now Scudzy's the guy with the gold lead. Look at this. 2k above the Ivan, and Ivan, even though he is a glorified support, he needs gold for items, and it doesn't matter if Scudzy.
Oh, that's going to be the catch out
people.
to Croxon. What a hook!
Again!
Oh my God, Bartiono perfectly predicts the distortion and catches him out.
Bartiono, this isn't the first time as well. This is the third time he's done this to someone this game. He is playing like an absolute monster on this Thresh, and I'm loving the pick potential they're showing. They might end the game off of this.
That hook may have just singularly won the game here for Barrage. That health bar on that turret already below. Artorias can tank this up, and Barrage looking to close out onto the base and take out some inhibitors here. One is already down, and they're looking to get a second one for the moment. Jakamaka full HP. Artorias was able to hold out very strong there. They've even got an Ocean Drake to regen as much as possible.
And as the Baron ends, I was worried that the Baron was going to end without them breaking an inhibitor, so they wouldn't be able to really get much of an advantage off of it. The map would kind of reset back to normal. Now they've got 2 inhibitors. Suddenly everything's changed. Suddenly you can rely on the super minions to push in the waves for you, and you get full control of the jungle. You get full control of vision. And now Diabolus, they look like they've been shut out of this game entirely. They really need to find crucial picks, crucial plays to stall the game to the point where Yusa can be relevant, because right now he is completely irrelevant.
I mean, the whole team are completely irrelevant. You got a 1-4 LeBlanc. Krogson can't find himself on opening. You got a stopwatch on Scudzy. You got a stopwatch on Camille, so that assassination attempt becomes infinitely harder. Jakamaka can kite with Flash, Heal, and that Buster Shot. On top of the fact that there's a redemption from Fresh, you've got an assassin who's going to really struggle to assassin people at this point. You got AD Carry who just doesn't flat get the time to actually output any meaningful damage at the moment, while Jakamaka is two-shotting people with his build. He's even got that Vamp Scepter for even more sustain for the longer fights.
We said that Yusa, the only way he was really going to put down more damage than Jakamaka in the late game is if he's going hyper-aggressive. He can have a higher damage potential, but he needs to dive the back lane. He needs to go hard in to be able to set that up. And so Jakamaka, when he's got this item lead, he's so happy to just get the consistent DPS without having to play aggressive. Yusa is on a win more champion, and he never started winning.
Well, at the beginning of the day, we heard from a bunch of the teams, and Barrage said they really wanted to fight Fnatic. They didn't expect to win, but they wanted to learn, and they're setting themselves up to at least put themselves in part 1 of that, which is fight Fnatic. They still have to close this game out and then beat the winner of the next game if they want to be in with a chance of taking on Fnatic. But Croxon, stepping in, just gonna...
Considering how Diabolus, good Diabolus looked last week and the fact that they're doing this to them, maybe Barrage is good enough to take down the team from the other semi-final later today. Maybe Barrage is the one that's going on to face Fnatic, and I'm definitely excited to see what this roster can do, because I think they have the potential. I think they can definitely put up a fight against Fnatic, similar to the way Enclave did.
Well, Diabolus is do or die at the moment as Super Minions are closing in on that mid lane. You can see Kerberos is trying to stop them in the top lane, and Barrage just know this. They're going to be able to step away in a moment and try and get some damage onto that Baron buff as they got full vision control of that part of the map. But for the moment, they're quite content just sieging. They know they don't need to throw at Baron. They don't need to risk it. They know the Super Minions are doing a lot of work for them. And Krogson hanging over that wall, looking for the damage, but forced to run away.
Not all that much vision around this area. Not all that much vision for the control for Diabolus. Barrage is lacking the vision as well. But you need to be able to deny these entrances, and that's exactly what Artorias' job is here.
Well, Barrage have already started up the Baron.
Is he going to give up his life for it?
Just getting completely taken out here as Artorias is zoning away, throws the ultimate out onto Haddo.
They want to turn the
That's
fight.
going to be the redemption. The hook goes a little bit wide, and now they're looking at Chase as they've got that Baron to work with. But Barrage not going to overstay their welcome, not going to overstep. They have the Ocean Drake. Artorias can heal back up, and then they can look to try and siege onto this last inhibitor turret.
They have this wave in the wave here, but what I really need to see them do is split up. Artorias go and push the mid wave, escort those super minions in. Somebody needs to go and escort those super minions so that there is actually pressure on the base, because currently they're really happy to just clear out these super minion waves outside of the base, and there's never really pressure onto this tower because of it. You need somebody to escort that in so that you drag members from Diabolus away. You drag multiple members to try and deal with someone across the map. You force them into a lose-lose situation where you're getting more and more chip damage on these towers.
Well, the chip damage is in. Krogson double sorts onto Scudsy. Jakamaka's running in, and now Croxon's forced to flash. This is going to be the fight. Haddock goes
Oh,
in
God, he got
Pomeroy.
it.
Jakamaka just deletes him. Now Kerr flags and drags in. That's a dunk onto one. It's a 1-for-1 fight so far. Yusa is entering in. This might be the turnaround. Diabolus come up huge. Down goes Cremil, and he's going to go golden for the moment. Doesn't have Shockwave, does have Flash, does have Cleanse. He's out with just a sliver of HP. Barrage keep their carries, but lose everybody else.
And the issue here was that they grouped up as 5, they stayed as 5, and they didn't start using those empowered waves. They have Baron, and they have 2 inhibitors down. Why aren't you utilizing those super minions? And when they group up as 5, they get punished for it. And the aggression of Jakamaka was there to try and kill Croxon immediately. He gets it, but they bought into that 5v5 at that point. You're just giving Diabolus a fight outside their base, where they have the full tempo, where they can back off where they want to. You can't dive through the tower. And they get to chase you down freely through their jungle.
And that might just be the moment that Yusa needed to become relevant again. You can see the QSS has been finished up on Jakamaka at this point, where Yusa's running around with that Hurricane, which was so impactful in a grouped up barrage, where he's able to output a serious amount of damage into them.
Suddenly there's windows back into the game for Diabolus. You can see now that the Athene's Unholy Grail on the way for Monkeys. These 3 shielding items. You throw one of those shields on Yusa, maybe he can dive the backline. His ultimate shield on top of it, giving him that bonus safety, giving him the attack speed, giving him the lifesteal. The last of this Baron has to be used effectively, or the game could just completely start turning the other way.
The concern, though, for Barrage at this for Diabolus is you are also looking at a 4-item Tristana. You are looking at a Death Cap Oriana.
Only half an item behind from Yusa now.
Yeah, they do have an effective front line as well. Scudsy needs to not get caught out once again. And Notorious is looking for the damage onto one. They're going to look to blow up Monkeys. That's going to be Bartiona. You can see Croxon comes in. The Shockwave is on. The shields are up. And Jakamaka has held his life for the moment. Monkeys is going low. And the res is coming forward onto Scudsy. Hazo might just be the first victim. The flash out by Scudsy. Nobody's died here. And that's going to be the redemption. The hook's not going to be enough to land. And Hado goes down. It's 5 versus 4. Inhibitor will fall here. And Barrage might just be looking to close this game out. But Croxon has something to say about that. Inhibitor number 2 will be focused out here for the moment. Yusa's clearing away those waves. That's going to be the base going down. The Baron will be falling off fairly soon, and Barrage need to step away.
They're still afraid of fighting on these 5v4 terms in the base, because they know if you group up as direct 5 against the Diabolus unit here, you're giving Monkeys and Yusa exactly what they want.
Ooh. He tried. He tried for the spicy hook. I respect that.
But if he finds another one of these hooks, so the game could just end instantly. He's trying to find it here.
Scudsy jumping in, doesn't have GA this time. He's going to get melted through. That's a free-man ultimate out by Kerberos, but the heal's coming in. A 2-man shockwave, though. It's huge. And Bartiona's going to go down.
This could be the game.
Oh, look at a rip through Yusa. He goes down, and Cremil and Notorious are the only 2 left up. Sorry, it's only Croxon who's left up here for the moment. Barrage looking to chase. They're not looking to end here for the moment, as Croxon's catching the wave. Ultimate by Notorious was predicted, but not going to be enough to get the kill. The double distortion and the bomb is on. Jakamaka looking to get that damage, but in he goes out as he's trying to run away, and Croxon has bought time for his team. The rest of Barrage now making their way down that mid lane. Notorious is tanky enough to tank this for the moment, but look at who's coming up soon. You've got Monkeys, you've got Kerberos. Can Barrage close out here with just 2 minions?
It's going to be close, but if Notorious is tanking the tower instead of them, Hado needs to just use a WQ combo on the minions. Get rid of it. Exactly, Croxon, like this. You need to try and keep the minions off of the towers for as soon as possible.
Well, 2 supers are already up. Hado jumps in onto Jakamaka, looking to get that damage. The headbutt pulverizes on. The stuns are connecting. Cremil looking to put the damage forward. That's going to be the hook. Down goes
Yusa's up.
The turret is up, but Yusa is also up. A hook onto Cremil lands, and now they're
Yusa's
jumping in.
Here he
Yusa's
goes.
going in. He's going ham here. The shutdown's coming in. Yusa gets a triple kill. He's going for the quadra kill. Everybody on Barrage is going down as Yusa comes up huge. Kerberos dunks him in, and in comes Yusa with a quadra kill.
He finds his moment. He waits for the way in on the respawn. He gets the dive into the backline, and they can't get on top of him. Huge headbutt pulverized from Hado. He closes that fight out for them. And Yusa, he's back in the game well and truly.
I mean, 2 insane fights by Yusa now has bought him so much for his team, has potentially saved this game here for Diabolus. It was looking dire. They are still down gold. They are still down 2 inhibitors, but Baron is spawning in 30 seconds, and all of the carries need to get onto the board and into their game quickly for Barrage if they don't want this game to turn around against them.
Only 20 seconds until the Baron spawns. They can get control of the map. If they deny Scudsy, if they can keep him separated from the team, then maybe they can get this Baron and turn the game around. Yusa, he found his way back in. And you know, his skin says it all. You can try, but you'll never bring us down. We can go another round.
Oh, he's got himself the GA as Scudsy. Needs to be a little bit careful. He is waiting in the wings. Baron is now up, and Diabolus looking to take it. Full item build here for Yusa, and Scudsy is going to go down. This could be detrimental here. Camille has to find one of those big shockwaves, and Notorious is forced to run away. He's jumped into the Baron pit, and Kerberos is looking to chase him down. Daisy's going to force an interrupt here onto Barrage for the moment. No jungler for 40 seconds, and it looks like Diabolus are going to get themselves this Baron. They may have just turned this game back around.
And it was so close. It was just moments away. They were on the Nexus Tower, the last Nexus Tower, just a couple autos from dead. And that is where Yusa and Hado, they found the way in. And they've turned this on its head now. 8 kills for Yusa. And even though he was set so far behind early, the stalling of the game, once again, giving a timer.
Are they looking to sneak through the jungle and just try and backdoor this?
Kerber spots them.
He gets flayed, he gets hooked, they're jumping in. That's going to be a lot of damage onto him. Shockwave uses that stone plate to buy time. A 3-man Cataclysm is in, but Jakamaka remains on top of the fight. That's going to be one already picked up for Bartione, and now the rest of the team are looking to put the damage out, but Yusa is looking to rip through members. That's one already for him. He jumps in, and Monkeys finds himself yet another one, as Camille and Jakamaka are the only two who stand, and Yusa is still full HP, still has that ultimate almost up, as he's not going to be able to land the Void Seeker, but now Monkeys might just be sniffing around, quite tanks up the Q, the Hex flash over the wall. Hado actually fails that, which could have been really, really bad for Barrage, but Elder Drake is going to go over to Bulldogs. No, Diabolus. Bulldogs are gone.
Diabolus, though, they've given control once again, and Kerberos, he did his role as a battle ward. He held on for as long as possible to give the rest of his team the way back in, and them trying to sneak the base, it didn't work out for them. They got punished for it. And in a 2-for-1 fight, they've still not got any pressure on the map again. They're starting to lose this vision that was giving them so much control. And if Barrage loses the vision past the river, if you see all these wards around the red buff disappear, we're back to an even game.
Definitely so. And
both inhibitors are coming back up right now.
It's very scary here if you are Barrage, as you're looking at a full item build Kai'Sa. Your Tristana still not finished that last
item.
And the
mid lane tier 1 wasn't even down, and they're turning this game around.
This actually might just be the turn here for Diabolus, as Barrage have to find a miracle opening on to Yusa and somehow kill him twice. He has the GA, he has a lot of kite ability and a lot of fight ability. And with the double ocean empowered Elder Drake, got an extra bit of burn in the kit as well.
So Yusa, though, he is the man to watch at every given moment. If he gets picked off, even goes into his GA, that can spell the end for Diabolus, as a majority of the late game damage just disappears in an instant. But for the side of Barrage, they need to stick together, and they need to try and find ways to catch people out of position. Perhaps it is just another great hook by Bart to find somebody out of position. Krogson, when he's going in for one of these combos, maybe oversteps his bounds just a little bit, and the game can turn back. But Barrage, their backs against the wall now suddenly, after being in control for so long.
All right, 40 minutes on the clock here, Barrage. Like you keep saying, backs against the wall, dangerous position for them to be in, but you can see now they're going for the 4-1. Krogson looking to poke Notorious a little bit here. Jakamaka's clearing the wave.
This is so
Solo versus the LeBlanc, which is
the next
a terrifying
fight could
concept.
End the game. They've got Elder.
Well, Krogson's onto the turret, just trying to poke away, and Baron
this is what
still
they
has a
needed
bit
to
of
do
time
before.
left.
You see what they're doing here. Krogson is escorting one of the Baron waves in while they push the other, splitting up the members of Barrage. That's how you take down these towers. That's how you draw apart Barrage. And you utilize Baron effectively. That's something that Barrage didn't do, and they're being sorely punished for it.
Double GA is now available to Barrage as well, so both Scudsy and Jakamaka do have a little bit of survivability in these fights, but...
I mean, with the way Jakamaka's been jumping in, he might need it.
Yeah, I would agree with you on that point. As Baron's worn off, they haven't actually been able to crack an inhibitor turret here, which is at least something Barrage. They can smile about that, and if they can find one good fight, that is the game done for Barrage. But Diabolus doing everything in their power to stop that from being the case, and Yusa was completely irrelevant for the first 30 minutes of this game. Now is one of the scariest things that Barrage have to deal with on this Kai'Sa. I mean, hell, just sell the boots and get a PD.
Look at the resource allocation, though, because for so long in this game, as you said, Yusa was irrelevant. He was down 20 to 30 CS in lane. Look at the CS now. He has Flame Horizon Jakamaka because they are relying on him to carry. They've been giving him every single resource to get him back into this game. Even though they didn't give him any resources early, the waves have been all going his way.
All right, well, that's the red buff picked up onto Jakamaka.
This is the wrong side to the rift.
Everybody's on the wrong side of the rift here. As you can see, Scudzy is on that flank. Inhibitor being focused up here by Diabolus. Needs to be a big shockwave by Cremil if they want to go for it, but that's going to be a hook going a little bit wide. Inhibitor goes down. Barrage trying to hold out as they're losing everything they don't want to lose.
And being forced out of position while Diabolus had the inside track on mid costs them dearly, as they don't even need the Baron to get that Inhibitor. And so now they can just back off and they can use the fact that he's got these super minions mid to consistently push in the waves deeper and then have more control as this Baron's going to spawn in 1 minute's time. If they can set up the wave for it, then they can actually contest this one much more efficiently than they have the last two.
Hey, we're back to old Kerberos versus Artorias. Artorias is with the team and Kerb is in a side lane.
It's the classic matchup, yo.
This is what I remember of this matchup.
He's playing glorified Kayle, yeah. It's a Demacian champion, it counts, right? But the Aftershock, you see how much damage it does to towers at this point in the game. Kerberos is actually an effective split pusher. Maybe the minions will be able to pick it up here. They do. Artorias isn't there quick enough, so that's another wave that they can have pushed in deep and set up for the Baron, which is spawning in just 20 seconds.
At least, though, for the side of Barrage, is Artorias does have teleport, so does Kerberos, so both of these top laners can join into the fight, which is going to be a really impactful here. But Kerb actually looking to stay around for a little bit longer.
The key point for this Baron, though, is, again, look at the wave positioning. Look at where all the waves are. As Barrage contests this, Diabolus can just stall it out, allow the waves to continue to push in. Somebody has to respond eventually, and at that point, when they are trying to contest these waves, that's where you can push towards Baron. That's where you can push a fight on somebody out of position. And seeing that TP blown from Artorias instantly gives them the knowledge that Kerberos can just keep pushing bot because they aren't rushing down this Baron at this point. They're too afraid of the 50-50.
You do not want to be throwing that, especially when Monkeys is actually ahead in CS. They're looking for a pick onto Hado here. That's going to be the ultimate
They
out.
have to do something because Kerb has TP and they don't.
Really, really bad for them now.
Oh god, they're being collapsed on.
They are surrounded on all fronts, so that's going to be one. They're looking for Scudzy. Can jump away if he needs to. The shields are on, the lanterns out. He's flashed into Croxton. The GA gets used and Jakamaka jumps in, trying to avoid Kerberos. Gets caught in the Cataclysm. He does have the flash, he does have the heal. The hook's going to be in, and now it looks like for the 1-for-1. The shockwave lands onto one, but Kerberos is able to get his way out. A 3-man headbutt pulverize, and Yusa is looking to put the damage down. A double kill's been picked up onto Croxton for the moment, and Jakamaka is being forced out of the fight, looking for LeBlanc, looking for the damage on the Monkeys, but Jakamaka is now running away as Kerberos is looking to chase him down.
This is the game.
It's going to be a triple kill for Croxton. He goes golden, and Diabolus looks to have turned it around, look to have saved the game for themselves here as Kerberos gets himself a knockup. Jakamaka does still have a GA, and Yusa rips through him. The turret is going to go down right here, and now Diabolus are going to take out the AD carry. Artorias is the only one to defend, and he cannot do squat as Diabolus are looking to turn it around, and they take them down one more time.
And even though it was such a close-fought game, back and forth for both Barrage and Diabolus, it ends up going in favor of Diabolus, and they just couldn't quite push with those Baron buffs effectively enough for Barrage, and it ends up capitalized on by Diabolus, who we said were very effective at punishing the mistakes of people like Phelan yesterday. They showed it yet again here, and Barrage, they couldn't close it out. They get shut down, and so people like Yusa, Hado, and everybody had such a big performance in turning that around.
I think if you're both of these teams' coaches, this is an incredible game to look back on because there is so much to learn.
Yeah.
Diabolus, a lot of early game weaknesses were exposed there, and Barrage, their ability to siege, you highlighted it. They grouped up and they lost fights for it. That game could have closed out 10-15 minutes earlier if Barrage effectively used the Baron and the siege. Instead, they got caught by Croxton multiple times, and I think, like, if you do go back at that game, there's so much for both of these teams to take from this. Diabolus, they need to take that quickly, though, because they are now into the finals, and they're either going to be taking on Enclave or M&M.
Yeah, Diabolus returning to the finals for the second time. We'll see if this time they can make it to the Tower finals. But I was very impressed by what they were showing in the later stages in terms of just their resilience, stalling out the game for as long as possible. They weren't making so many mistakes around the map, and they punished the fact that Barrage wasn't forcing the issue as hard as they should. And so even though they didn't show the snowball that they're usually showing, they didn't have the resources on Yusa. They couldn't snowball through bot lane. They still held out. I need to see them prove that they can have an effective early to mid game and still set forth at a win condition for the mid game that doesn't just rely on Yusa carrying.
Yeah, I feel you're completely right. Like, it was all the Yusa show once again, and the fact that they invested too much into Yusa, you know, Barrage read into it. They went, this is where they're strong. Let's try and shut that down. Jakamaka did a fantastic job on Tristana, but we have an MVP, and it's actually not Yusa. It's Hado. His Alistair play was insane. He got so many multi-man headbutt pulverizes. I mean,
and the crucial one to turn the game, Yusa dived into the backline, and it was like, Yusa, is he going to be able to turn it? And I was still hesitant. I thought the game could end, but then a 3-man headbutt pulverize from Hado comes through, and that is the clutch move to win them that fight, the clutch move to win them the game in the turnaround.
And the thing actually kind of coming out of this game, which I want to take away, is, you know, at the beginning of the season, was looking at the rosters, and I saw Hado was on the Diabolus roster, and I had a lot to say about Hado. I feel like there were a lot of mistakes, especially in Forge of Champions. He was one of the weaker players on the team he was on at the time. And, you know, to see Hado actually now kind of really improve, and he's proven me wrong. And that game was him just highlighting, going, no, okay, you maybe misread me, because as an Alistair player, we've always known him as an Alistair player, but he's always been quite a passive Alistair player.
His team plays this game, yeah. His laning was very much just he had to sit back and lose lane because they were pressured out so hard. But when he got into that later stage, he was landing consistent headbutt pulverizers at the perfect time. The issue, though, for the side of Barrage is you saw some great performances. Jakamaka playing so aggressively and able to find some really nice plays himself, and Bart with those constant hooks. And it's so sad to see them lose after playing so well for so long, but the macro wasn't quite there to be able to utilize the Baron buffs effectively. And without those Baron buffs being used effectively, you gave the window for Diabolus to come back. That has to be the learning point for them. That has to be what they take away from this.
And yeah, exactly. It's they get to go back, they get to look at this game, and I'm sure if you're Barrage, the game you're going to be watching over and over and over and just seeing what we could have done differently is this game. If they'd taken down a team like Diabolus, first of all, it would have been a massive morale boost for them. It just would have been great for them, because they would have either taken on M&M or Enclave, depending on who wins in the next game. So it was a fantastic showing by them, but Diabolus, you know, once again, Yusa comes up huge and makes sure that that team do not go out. Now, after the break, we're going to have ourselves M&M taking on Enclave. The winner of that will be taking on Diabolus after that in the finals, so don't go anywhere. We'll see you in a minute.